Alright, what is up YouTube? Welcome back to another Battlefield 6 video. Today we're going to be talking about 10 tips to help improve your multiplayer experience. And yeah, to get right into it, Battlefield 6 is more competitive than ever, but the quality of the average match is at an all-time low. Why? Because the fundamentals are being ignored. Just yesterday on my hand bridge, I watched a 750 ticket lead evaporate in minutes because my team forgot how to play. It was honestly the breaking point for me. Today we're putting a stop to those throwaway matches. I've broken down 10 core pillars of the Battlefield experience, from ticket manage to squad cohesion, that most players are completely missing. This isn't about meta guns or exploits, this is about how to actually play the game at a high level. Let's get to work. Starting off at number 10, know your role. Before you start every match, you need to know, or you need to have an idea of how you want to approach each match. And typically there are 4 classes that contribute into the overall game, right? You have assault, engineer, support, and recon. With assault leading the point, taking points, flanking, finding alternate routes to get around the enemy. To engineer, who knocks out tanks, the support role, who revives, and the recon, who spots. Knowing what each role does, knowing what each other sub roles do, because there are 2 sub roles to every role. Like, let's say assault, you have breacher and frontline, and recon you have sniper and spec ops, and engineer you have anti-armor and combat engineer, and support you have combat medic and fire support. Understanding what each one does will help you establish how you want to play the game to your needs, to what you want to do, to what you want to contribute. So knowing your role is very essential before going into any match, alright? On to number 9. Play the intended role. If you pick an engineer, it is your responsibility to knock out tanks. If you pick support, it is your responsibility to either revive people or provide suppression cover. And if you are assault, it is your point to take objectives, recon spots, right? Knowing what role you pick, you are locking yourself into that playstyle, and you should play it to its most effective. Say if you're running an engineer, you want to knock out tanks, your best bet would be to place mines strategically, knock out the tanks, knock out the armor. Prioritize that over taking a point if you are being assaulted by a tank. If you are a medic, don't go for those suicide revives. Wait for an opening, throw smokes, provide cover for your team, and revive when you can. And for snipers, just go and spot. Use your gadgets to spot enemies and objectives and stuff. It helps out a lot, and spotting in this game is really powerful. So definitely understand the role you're picking, play it to your best of its abilities, and do what you gotta do to get that win. Alright, on to number 8. And I will say this, find your rhythm. Everybody plays the game differently. Some people are running guns, some people like to get up close, some people are very twitchy when it comes to shooting. Some people are more slower paced, some people like to hang in the mid line, some in the back line. Find the gun that suits your rhythm. Don't look for what's meta, because what's meta might not work for you, you know. Finding, let's say you're an engineer again, right? You know you can't hang in the close range because you're not as reactive. Pick a gun that can handle the mid range. Pick an even slower fire rate gun to handle the long range. You have a bunch of variety with weapons to pick, especially if running in open matchmaking. Find a gun that suits your needs, suits your playstyle, suits your your cadence. Okay, don't force yourself into a meta. Don't force yourself into playing something you're not used to or in a way you don't want to. Battlefield is a sandbox essentially. You're able to find your way to play it, and you can learn how to adapt to matches according to how you play. That, combined with knowing your role and playing it, will help you maximize your efficiency in the battlefield. So definitely take time, find your rhythm. That's all it is. On to number 7. Honestly, as every match goes on, situations change, so very important. Adapt to the situation at hand. If you're running an assault player, you're capturing points. If you're reviving, but there's a lot of enemy armor and your team's not doing anything about it, swap to engineer. keep your favorite gun if you want to go down that route, and start applying pressure to the tanks or the jets, bring out stingers, or if your team is dying too much, swap to a medic, help them out. And if you just don't know where everyone is and your team's having a hard time, swap to an engineer and bring out your drone, use your binoculars, mark targets, spot them, paint planes or something. Use anything to help your team out. And yeah, on to number 6. You gotta check those corners. So if you're approaching a building and you're not aware of what is around a certain corner, because there are a lot of corner campers here, it's always best to go in, check in a corner. You'd be surprised how often you get kills, free kills, because people don't expect you to be looking. They just expect you to run across like an idiot, and they'll gun you down behind your back, and you just see this shit in the corner. So always, if you're unsure if someone's in a corner or something, look at the layout of the house, look at the door, go in and check the corner, and you'd be surprised how many kills you get. It's super cool. But that comes also with like knowledge of the map. You gotta know what buildings people like to camp in. You gotta know what buildings, what corners they like to sit in, so you can go in and kind of just preempt it, kind of just make sure you're safe. You know, it's a little extra thing you gotta do, but if you wanna have a better KD, definitely check your corners. Moving on to number 5. So I said this earlier, spotting. Spotting is very, very useful in this game. Not a lot of people do it, and the recon does it super easily with the drone and the laser designator and the tugs. So definitely spotting. Spotting helps the team. It helps them understand where the enemy's at. And also, if you have a good pilot and they're free, they have air superiority. Spotting targets is a godsend to pilots, and I say for myself too, because we know where to drop those bombs. If you paint a cluster of enemies, right, with your drone, and if you're on PC, you're like, hey, we need a pilot. If you're free, can you drop bombs over here? We can know where exactly enemies are at, and we can just drop bombs on the enemies. And we can also, if you mark out the tanks, right, if you paint them, definitely it'll help us out with ATGMs, lock on faster, further. We can get a better strafing, do more damage to the tanks. So that helps us in the air, but it also helps the enemy understand where the team is, because spotting, not a lot of people know how to do it, and it is something very crucial to winning a game. I would rather a recon class, if you're playing Spec Ops, get like 50, 60, 70 assists in a match because of spotting, and then to just have them sit in the back, you know. That's nothing wrong with that. If you're a good shot, you're trying to go for some challenges, because I know the challenges you got to knock out, definitely do what you got to do, right? But definitely, if you're a recon player, like to get up close, which I am one of those too, definitely do what you can to spot enemies. All right. Moving on to number 4. This is something, if you're solo queuing, you're playing with randoms, play with your squad. While your ability to roam and do things on your own is really fun, it separates a squad, and oftentimes you get stuck into places where you just need help and you all can't pick each other up, and sometimes you get in a spot where there are no medics, and it is really annoying. So try and play as close to your squad as possible. Play with them. You don't have to talk to them, just play with them, revive them when you can, take points when you can, because trust me, there's more benefits to playing together as a squad than to going around and doing your own thing. You can do it, you have the liberty to do it, but if you feel like you want to win the match, if you're tired of losing, if you're tired of blowing leads, definitely consider playing with your squad. And it's something that I highly recommend. It is really cool because you and your squad can have some really sick moments. So yeah. On to number 3, which I think is super important. Don't tunnel into center objectives. So I say this because oftentimes when we're losing or when we're winning, there's a lot of people constantly just fighting for the center objective. And I get it, that's what the action is, right? But you gotta kind of look at it this way, right? You gotta look at those bluebirds in your map as them being stupid, and They're just the rees you want to send out in the combat to contest that point. That point is always going to be contested. You know, whether you take it and all that stuff. It could be a vital point, but sometimes the enemy is just focused on that objective, which leaves the other back objectives towards their spawn more open or something. Don't just focus on that. If you are watching this video and you are losing, look at the map, see if the blueberries are tunneled in the center objective or center objectives, and go around, go hit the other flags. Make the enemy team come back to you all, you know. And it'll give the blueberries a time to take the point and hold it while they're trying to deal with you all back at A or B or wherever you are at on their side of things, you know. Very important. There's a lot of matches that have been lost because a lot of people just funnel into the center objective and it is not good. So definitely try and see where the enemy presence is the strongest and then focus on hitting the objectives that are left unguarded, left unchecked. And if you see that they have a huge enemy presence in the center, let the randoms contest it. You know, let them take it, let them fight for it. Have them aggro the center point while you and your squad, you and your friends go sneak around, hit the back objectives. Make them pull back towards you all. And since you all have better knowledge of what's going on, you're going to be anticipating it, so you can set up traps, you can do so many things. Definitely biggest thing in the game, do not tunnel to the center objectives. Go around. If you see that it's constantly under attack, like I said, you see there's a heavy enemy presence, go around and go hit the other objectives. Go look for an objective that's not easily guarded, you know. And speaking of objectives, this is very important, and because this is how you win the game. It's not about kills, it is about playing the objective. Whether you're playing Conquest, Escalation, Breakthrough, or whatever objective-based game mode, remember that in order to win, you have to go to most objectives. And holding more flags, or if you're in Breakthrough defending the sector, it is always best to hold more objectives. I wouldn't say is relevant for Breakthrough, but let's say for Escalation and Conquest, you need to have the flag, the majority of the flags captured to bleed their enemy tickets. With time, it'll bleed. I think it's like a ticket every 2 seconds or so. I don't know the math behind it, but it's a ticket with a certain amount of time. It'll bleed on its own just because you have the majority of the flags, right? That with people dying, which we're gonna get to here in a bit, and all that other stuff, is gonna contribute to the ticket bleed, which is gonna segue into my final tip. If you are in an objective game mode and you don't understand how the game works, you don't understand how bleed works, ticket bleed, don't bleed out. If you get shot and you're down and there's medics around you, the worst thing you can do is skip the revive and go back to the map, because that is how you lose a ticket. Even if you're down, you don't lose a ticket. Your ticket is lost when you bleed out. So if you're a medic out there, you see someone down and they're not that far from you, let's say they're within 20-15 meters, or if you're headed that way, revive them, save your team the ticket. Often revives are the best way to save games. I've seen matches where we're down by 500 tickets, and because of our medics reviving and us playing the objective and outsmarting the enemy, we find ways to get around them, and we end up coming back and winning by like 5 or 6 tickets, which is an amazing feeling, right? So definitely do not bleed out. Don't hang in there. If you see a medic headed your way, give it a few minutes. Not a few minutes, that's too long. Give it a few seconds, see if anyone's coming your way. And then if you go down and you need a revive but there's no medic, then it's just skip the revive, you know. You'd be surprised how many good medics are out there. I know a lot of people deal with medics who don't revive and all this other stuff. It happens to everyone, trust me, it happens to me. with them, just like ignore them. But yeah, definitely wait out a bit, and try and hold off to save your team that extra ticket. You know, you could be the winning factor in the game. You know, so just definitely don't be too quick to bleed out. I know it's easy if you're like a COD player coming in, you just wanna die, respawn, die, respawn, die, respawn. That is how you tank your KD, and that is how you lose games faster. So don't do that. If there's a medic around, you give him a chance. Sometimes you gotta be patient, so it's fine. If after a while, you know, no one's coming at you, no one's even looking your way, then you can just skip it. But for the most part, just try and hold out. You know, you can be that extra, you can be the factor that wins the game. So yeah, those have been 10 tips, and yeah, give me 1 second. Sorry, I had to sneeze. Anyways, now knowing all of these wonderful tips, get out there and find what works for you, play the objective, and work together to get that oh so sweet victory. May the medics revive you, and may the battlefield gods guide your rockets to those damn helicopters. If you made it this far and you want more tips like this, leave a like, comment down below what tips y'all can give to the broader community, maybe even new players, and consider subscribing. We have more great content just like this coming. Have a wonderful day, stay safe out there, and Godspeed. This is AG Gaming signing off. Peace.